There comes a time in every life when silence speaks louder than noise, when the clock ticks not as a friend, but as a judge, when your reflection in the mirror does not inspire you but confronts you. Have you ever stared into your own eyes and asked, who is this person I've become? Not the version the world sees, not the mask you've perfected for the audience of life, but the quiet self, that hidden echo of who you could be, buried beneath layers of fear, comfort, compromise, and delay. That weak version of yourself, the one who hesitates when called, who cowers before risk, who sells greatness for convenience, who trades fire for lukewarm water, must die. Because you were not made for smallness. You were not breathed into existence by the Creator of all things simply to drift, to drown in a shallow pool of excuses. You were made for the storm. You were forged for the furnace. You were sculpted by the one who never leaves, who set stars into motion and spun galaxies into being, and yet whispered your name before the foundations of the earth. So, what are you doing hiding in the corner of your own life? There's a version of you that lives in fear, afraid of what others think, afraid of failure, afraid of trying again. That version of you trembles before hardship. It prays for comfort, but flees the call to courage. It stays low, it keeps quiet, it blends in. And it must be killed, not with bitterness, not with shame, but with fire. You have to drag that part of yourself, the timid, the weary, the bitter, the addicted to ease, to the altar of transformation and say, enough. No more. You do not lead this life. You do not own this body. You do not get to define my future. This is the moment where the battle is fought, not in the battlefield of the world, but in the hidden rooms of the soul. This is where destiny is written, not with pens and paper, but with sweat and agony and surrender. You want power? You want peace? You want to know why you're still breathing? Then you must rise from within. But I will tell you the truth. That rising doesn't come through self-help cliches. It comes through trusting the one who shaped the stars and still bends low to meet your trembling heart. Trusting God is not about having all the answers. It is about walking into the dark with a torch He alone can ignite. It is about believing that even when the night is long, dawn is already stirring behind the hills. It is about knowing that your tears are not wasted, they are seeds. You are not abandoned. You are not forsaken. The silence you fear is not absence, it is preparation. The struggle you endure is not punishment, it is purification. The ache you carry is not meaningless, it is the echo of a greater purpose that refuses to die, no matter how deep you bury it. You say you're tired, I know. You say you've failed too many times, I know. You say the weight is too heavy. But the God who made you did not carve you out of fragile glass. He carved you from the breath of eternity and wrapped your bones in sacred promise. He built you for resistance. He built you for the climb. Stop pretending you're weak. You're not. You've just been living in exile, far from the sacred country of your own calling. There's a reason you feel restless. There's a reason your heart aches when you see someone living with boldness and fire. It's because your soul remembers what you've forgotten, that you were made for more than survival. You were made to blaze. But before the flame, there must be a funeral. The funeral of the weak self, the death of the excuse maker, the burial of the coward who kneels at the altar of fear. And what does that burial look like? It looks like rising one more time when you fall. It looks like praying even when you don't feel heard. It looks like working when no one applauds you and trusting when the path disappears beneath your feet. It looks like saying no to what is easy and yes to what is holy. It looks like facing the mirror and saying, I will not quit. I will not settle. I will not be ruled by shadows when I was born of light. There will be days when the darkness feels endless. There will be days when the burden presses against your chest like a stone. There will be days when you wonder if you are broken beyond repair, and it is in those days, especially those days, that you must remember the one who made you never makes mistakes. He is not done with you. In fact, the parts of your story that you most want to erase may be the very lines he will use to write redemption. The cracks you hide may be the very places where his light breaks through. So stop negotiating with your past. Stop making peace with mediocrity. Stop delaying the battle because you're afraid of bleeding. Yes, you will bleed, but better to bleed in the war for your soul than to slowly decay in the comfort of inaction. Let the world call you crazy for believing. Let them mock your discipline, your passion, your silence in the storm. Let them scoff at your prayers and roll their eyes at your faith. What do they know of the sacred war waged in the midnight hours of your soul? You are not building a life for applause. You are building a throne inside yourself where only God may sit. And anything that tries to dethrone him, whether it be fear, distraction, addiction, comparison, or pride, must be cast down without mercy. The weak version of you says tomorrow. The awakened soul says now. The weak self waits for signs. The awakened soul becomes the sign. The weak self begs for ease. The awakened soul says, even if it costs me everything, I will rise. And it is in that rising, messy, imperfect trembling that you become dangerous to the darkness. Because when a person truly trusts the one who never leaves, when they stop bargaining with fear and start walking by firelight, the enemy of their soul begins to tremble. You don't need a title. You don't need approval. You don't need the world's praise. You need only the still, quiet voice of the Creator saying, I am with you. That is the voice that split oceans. That is the voice that raises dry bones. That is the voice that calls things that are not as though they were. And that is the voice that calls to you now, come out of hiding. I did not make you for the shadows. I made you to shine. So kill that weak version of yourself, not once, but daily. Slay it every morning when you rise. Silence it every night before you sleep. And when it comes whispering back, as it surely will, do not entertain it. Do not negotiate. Remind it that you are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are a vessel of eternity. There is a version of you that is still sleeping, but not for long, because today is not just another day. It is the day you remember that the one who made you walks beside you, even in the fire. And when the storm rages and the winds howl and the mountains seem too steep, do not forget this. The same God who crafted your heartbeat out of nothingness has already walked the path ahead of you. He is not watching from afar. He is guiding from within. He is not waiting for you to be perfect. He is waiting for you to begin. The weak self dreams. The awakened self builds. The weak self watches. The awakened self acts. The weak self clings. The awakened self releases control, fear, pride, and surrenders to the wild, beautiful, terrifying path of faith. So breathe deep. You are not here by accident. That ache in your chest, that's not despair. That's the stirring of your real self. The self that refuses to die. The self that remembers the sound of God's whisper even when the world shouts over it. You were not made to merely exist, you were made to echo eternity. So rise again and again and again, not because you are strong, but because you are held. Not because the path is easy, but because the presence goes with you. And when they ask you how you kept going, when they wonder how someone like you, who had every reason to quit, stood tall and walked on, let your life be the answer. Let your resilience be a song. Let your fire be a warning to fear itself. And let your soul, awakened, battle-scarred, and anchored in trust, declare with every breath, the weak version of me is gone. I am becoming who I was born to be. Then hear this, not with your ears, but with the depths of your soul. No pain you've ever endured is wasted. No sorrow you've swallowed in silence has vanished into nothingness. In the eternal ledger of the universe, every tear you've wept, every cry sent into the night, every ache that tightened your chest when no one else was watching, they are all known, seen, counted, by the God who sees all things and forgets none. You may think your story has been derailed, that your life is a tale of wrong turns and broken roads, but the one who never leaves, the Creator whose wisdom folds time and mystery into a single breath, has never once lost sight of you, even when you lost sight of yourself. There is a mercy so vast it cannot be measured, and it has been following you, chasing you, waiting like a loyal sentinel at the edges of your wandering. Mercy does not recoil from your failures. It leans closer. Mercy is not shocked by your weakness. It has made a throne in the place of your collapse. You think you've come to the end of yourself? Good. That is where real life begins. Because the Creator doesn't use perfect people, the Creator uses surrendered people. The broken, the bruised, the tired and torn, the ones who've bled on the battlefield of life and still dared to whisper. You were not put on this earth to live numb. You were not sent into this world to survive behind walls of fear and self-preservation. You were designed to walk the raw terrain of life, with a heart still open, still alive, still able to trust even when trust feels like falling without a net. That is not weakness. That is divine strength disguised in human vulnerability. And you, yes, you, with your regrets and your wounds, with your questions and your scars, you are still in the hands of the one who never lets go. You are still wrapped in a plan too vast for your small failures to unravel. You are still woven into a purpose that cannot be destroyed by the darkness that tried to consume you. The pain did not win. You're still here, you're still breathing, you're still capable of rising. And now is the moment to rise, not just in body, but in soul. You do not need to have all the answers. You need only one decision: to trust. To trust that your suffering was not a grave, but a doorway. To trust that what was meant to bury you will instead become the soil from which your new life grows. To trust that the Creator wastes nothing, not even your deepest shame. There is a wisdom moving through your life like an unseen river. You may not see it, but it is carving mountains. You may not feel it, but it is reshaping valleys. That job you lost, that relationship that collapsed, that dream that burned to ash, all of it is being repurposed, rewritten, reclaimed. Nothing is outside the reach of the one who speaks galaxies into being and still chooses to dwell in the quiet spaces of your soul. Do not curse the pain that made you grow. Do not resent the storm that forced you to kneel. The fire did not come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. And what it revealed is this: you are stronger than you think. Not because you always win, not because you're unshakable, but because you are connected to a source that never runs dry. You have not been abandoned. The stillness you feared as rejection was really an invitation, a call to deeper trust, a call to listen, a call to step into the unknown where true faith lives. And faith is not certainty. Faith is not control. Faith is walking into the fog and believing the ground will appear beneath your feet, step by trembling step. So walk forward even with wounds still open. Walk forward even if the road is dark. Walk forward, not because it is easy, but because your soul was born for this journey. Every hero you admire, every soul who radiates unshakable peace, they were not spared from struggle. They were baptized in it. They were not protected from the fire. They walked through it, hand in hand with the one who shapes the fire into light. And now it's your turn. You who've questioned if you're enough. You who've wondered if you've missed your chance. You who've screamed into your pillow, begging for answers that never came. Hear me, your life is not over. Your story is not finished. In fact, the chapter you're about to enter may be the one that defines the rest of your existence. But you must choose. You must choose to trust again, not because the road is smooth, but because the spirit that sustains you is eternal. You must choose to get up, not because the pain is gone, but because purpose is stronger than pain. You must choose to believe not in yourself alone, but in the mysterious, powerful hand of God that is writing beauty out of your ashes. You were made for firelight, not for the dust. You were made to blaze with purpose, not crumble in despair. So lift your eyes, square your shoulders, stand not with pride, but with dignity, the sacred dignity of someone handcrafted by the architect of the cosmos. And if you are still breathing, then there is still time. Time to forgive, time to begin again, time to become the person you were always meant to be before the world, your fears, and your failures whispered lies into your ear. Kill that weak version of yourself, the one that says, I can't, the one that says, it's too late, the one that says, this is just who I am. That is not who you are. You are not your failures. You are not your past. You are not the voice that tells you to settle. You are a soul in motion, a storm breaker, a living echo of divine intention. You are the work of holy breath, still unfolding, still becoming. And your pain, yes, even your pain, is part of the process. So when the waves rise again, do not run. Let them crash. Let them break over you. Let them take what was never meant to stay. And as the flood recedes, you will find you are still standing. Not the same, not untouched, but truer, stronger, brighter. Because mercy is not a concept. Mercy is a revolution. It is what happens when everything you've been through is reinterpreted in the light of God's infinite patience. It is what happens when failure becomes wisdom, when shame becomes testimony, when wounds become portals. There is a plan, not a perfect plan in the eyes of the world, but a perfect plan in the hands of God. It includes your mistakes. It includes your detours. It includes your hidden tears and your silent prayers. And it is still unfolding moment by moment, breath by breath. Do not despise your slow steps. Do not compare your journey to anyone else's. There are no accidents in divine architecture. What looks like delay may be precision. What feels like denial may be protection, and what you think is the end may be the sacred, pregnant pause before the greatest rising of your life. So listen closely, not with your ears, but with your spirit. The voice that says, rise, is not asking you to be strong on your own. It is offering you a strength that cannot be stolen. It is offering you a mercy that will not run out. It is offering you a hand in the dark, a way through the wilderness, a dawn beyond your night. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when the pain has passed. Now. Now while your hands are still shaking. Now while the fire is still burning. Now while the broken pieces of you are still sharp in your hands. Because the one who made you is not waiting for you to be whole before he uses you. He is using even your brokenness as material for glory. Even your sorrow is being forged into a weapon of light. So let it happen. Let the mercy in. Let the healing in. Let the trust take root. And as you do, you will feel it, the weak version of you slipping away, the coward, the cynic, the wounded, frightened child who thought they were alone. You are not alone. You never were. The one who never leaves has been holding you all along, and now, finally, you are ready to rise with him. Not in shame, not in fear, but in fire. Because this is not the end, it is the turning point. And from this moment forward, you walk, not as a victim, but as a vessel. Not as one who is lost, but as one who has been found by mercy. Not as one who merely exists, but as one who dares to live, truly live, with holy defiance, sacred trust, and a heart set ablaze by the plan that was written for you before the beginning of time. To walk, rise, trust, and never look back. Because the weak version of you is gone, and the real you, the soul lit by the breath of God, has just begun. To now, here, in this moment, where silence holds its breath and eternity draws near, listen with the ears of your soul. Listen not with logic or fear, but with the primal ache that has always lived inside you. That ache is not a flaw, it is a homing beacon. It is the whisper of the infinite calling you back. Not to rules, not to shame, not to performance, but back to presence, back to the source, back to the place where your spirit first heard its name. For all this time, you have wandered through deserts of your own making, run through cities lit by artificial hopes, laid your head in the hollow of empty promises, and still, you are loved. Still, you are seen. Still, the one who never leaves stands at the door of your life, not demanding, not shouting, but simply waiting, waiting for your yes, waiting for the surrender that unlocks every prison, waiting for the moment you finally drop the masks, the walls, the hardened layers, and say with trembling lips, I want to come home. This is your homecoming, not to a building, not to a doctrine, not to an institution, but to God. To the breath that formed you, to the voice that speaks your name with tenderness in the night, to the flame that has never stopped burning beneath the ashes of disappointment and defeat. Can you feel it, that stirring inside, that trembling in the deepest chambers of who you are? That is not weakness, that is your rebirth. You are not rising because you've fixed everything. You are not standing because you've earned it. You are rising because mercy has made a way. You are rising because the ancient song of your soul has been reawakened. You are rising because the time has come to be who you really are. No longer hiding, no longer shrinking, no longer running from the sacred fire that lives within you. And now is the moment when everything changes. This is the hour of return, not to an old life, but to a deeper life, to the one that was waiting beneath the rubble, to the one that aches for truth, beauty, meaning, to the life aligned with the Creator, surrendered to a will far greater than your plans, and flooded with a love you do not have to deserve. So fall to your knees, not in guilt, but in awe. Lift your hands, not in fear, but in freedom. Let your soul crack open and pour itself out in a cry more ancient than language. I'm yours. Let go of the false self, the people pleaser, the doubter, the ghost of who you thought you had to be. Let the old gods of fear, pride, image, and performance fall to dust. And in that clearing, where your ego has burned away and your heart is bare, feel the presence of the one who has waited patiently, eternally, for this very moment. The one who shaped galaxies also shaped your wounds into wisdom. The one who balanced oceans also balances your every breath. The one who holds time in his hand also holds your fragile heart. Let it all go now, the striving, the proving, the pretending, and collapse into the arms that have always been there. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You are in this very instant completely surrounded by divine mercy. You are immersed in a love that will not give up on you, not now, not ever. To open the doors of your heart wide, throw them open like gates before the sunrise. Let the Creator rush in like wind and thunder, like warmth and stillness. Let that presence flood the hollows of your spirit where grief and guilt once ruled. Let that presence become your fire, your compass, your breath. This is the turning point you didn't know you were waiting for. This is not just a better version of your old life. This is a new life. Not a life without storms, but a life that knows who calms them. Not a life without wounds, but a life that walks healed, holy, and whole. And so I say to you now, with every fiber of my being and every note of truth in my voice, Omer to God, not because you are perfect, but because you are loved. Not because you are strong, but because you are seen. Not because you have answers, but because you are held. Come back not with fear, but with fire. Come back not to impress, but to surrender. Come back to the Creator who never left, never gave up, and never stopped calling your name through the whirlwind and through the whisper. Stand tall, beloved soul, stand redeemed, stand awake. Let your past collapse behind you like old scaffolding. Let your pain melt into the hands that molded you. Let your spirit rise like dawn after the longest night. And from this moment forward, walk as one who has returned to the source. Walk as one whose every breath is now a prayer. Walk as one who has heard the call and said, yes, I'm ready. Take me, use me. I'm yours. Because when a soul turns back to God, all of creation sings. The heavens widen, the universe takes notice, and something in eternity shifts. That shift is happening now, in you. So rise, 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 and never forget whose light you carry. Never forget whose breath fills your lungs. Never forget whose mercy brought you back. The time is now. The place is here. And you, child of divine fire, are finally home.